And that's where we'll begin tonight. Ephesians chapter 4. Really good to be with you. Thank you for your attendance here tonight. Thank you those of you who are visiting and have driven some distance and through some traffic to be here. That is much appreciated. We invite everybody to open up to Ephesians chapter 4 as we begin our study. Look in verse 17, please. Ephesians 4:17 says, "So this I say and affirm together with the Lord, that you walk no longer just as the Gentiles also walk, in the futility of their mind, being darkened in their understanding, excluded from the life of God because of the ignorance that is in them, because of the hardness of their heart. And they, having become callous, have given themselves over to sensuality for the practice of every kind of impurity with greediness. But you did not learn Christ in this way." Pause there for a second. Notice what he said back in verse 17. You walk no longer just as the Gentiles walk. Now, he's saying, in other words, you need to stop acting like everybody else. Don't act like the Gentiles. No longer walk like the Gentiles. You need to be different than that. In other words, change how you live. We have a sermon suggestion box there eventually, and recently in the sermon suggestion box, someone left a note that said this: "We live in a that's just how I am society." And it was a longer note than is typically left in there, and there were some excellent biblical points made, and I've centered this sermon around addressing some of the points that were made in that note. Here's some more excerpts from it. It said, "We don't just see this attitude in worldly people. It crops up in all of us when there's some behavior or sin that we shouldn't allow to continue in ourselves. I see even Christians use this excuse to justify the continuing of some wrong in their life. How hypocritical to expect sinners to change, but we are unwilling to change ourselves." We need to stop using this phrase as an excuse to sin. And that is absolutely right, isn't it? The Bible agrees 100%. Let's spend some time tonight convincing ourselves that God doesn't want us to think or say this anymore, that that's just how I am. Instead, He wants us to work on improving ourselves. Here's what the Bible teaches us. We need to become a new person. Over and over again, that's what it's telling us in one way or another. That's the language that's used. And we have several times in the New Testament the Holy Spirit using the language of putting off the old self and putting on the new self. We see that especially 3 different times on the screen: Ephesians 4, Romans 6, and Colossians 3, where that figure is used, that the old man is dying, or we're putting off the old man and we're putting on the new man. And that communicates to us that we need to be changing. We can't just excuse ourselves by saying, well, that's just how I am. As if that means I don't need to change, like God is repeatedly telling me I need to change. Look at Ephesians 4 again. Notice verse 20 now. Ephesians 4 verse 20, "You did not learn Christ in this way. If indeed you have heard of Him and have been taught in Him, just as truth is in Jesus, that in reference to your former manner of life, you lay aside the old self, which is being corrupted in accordance with the lust of deceit, and that you be renewed in the spirit of your mind, and put on the new self, which in the likeness of God has been created in righteousness and holiness of the truth." And the rest of the letter here in Ephesians goes on to list and briefly describe behaviors that we need to change, things that we need to subtract out of our lives, and things that we need to add that are good. And it's telling us you need to not just stay where you are, but you need to change. Put on that new man. He says in verse 25, to lay aside falsehood. In verse 26, he talks, in 27, he talks about putting anger away. Verse 28, stop stealing. Go get a job so that you can share with someone in need. Verse 29, stop using bad language, and on and on. Here are changes that every person needs to make. Put off the old man, put on the new man. And so there's no way that you can honestly read this letter and then think, well, I guess that becoming a Christian just means going to church on Sundays. You wouldn't get that idea from this letter or anywhere else in the New Testament. It's a whole change of lifestyle. It's a change for the better. Look at the next passage, please. Romans chapter 6. Notice the same idea communicated over here. Romans chapter 6. Of course, we use verses 3 and 4 a lot when we're talking about baptism, and that's good. He's talking about baptism there, but really this chapter is about what we're talking about tonight, starting a new life. In verse 4, he said, "Therefore we've been buried with Him through baptism into death, so that as Christ was raised from the dead to the glory of the Father, so we too might walk in newness of life." We can read the whole chapter to make the point, but drop down to verse 11, where he continues, "For even so consider yourselves to be dead to sin, but alive to God in Christ Jesus. Therefore, do not let sin reign in your mortal body, so that you obey its lust. And do not go on presenting the members of your body to sin as instruments of unrighteousness, but present yourselves to God as those alive from the dead, and your members as instruments of righteousness to God. And so he says, baptism is the beginning of a new life. Keep in mind, he's writing this letter to people that are already Christians. He's writing to the saints in Rome. He's not trying to convince them to be baptized. They've already done that. He's reminding them, look, we've been baptized. Let's not forget that that meant we started a new life. All these things you should have been subtracting from God and walking in newness of life. He's reminding them of that. It's supposed to have been a shift in how you live. All right, look at the other one in Colossians chapter 3, please. Colossians chapter 3, look down in verse 9 at what it's saying. Colossians chapter 3, here's the third time the Holy Spirit's using that kind of figure, that language, putting off the old. Colossians 3 and verse 9. Do not lie to one another, since you laid aside the old self with its evil practices and have put on the new self, who's being renewed to a true knowledge according to the image of the one who created him. And again, this passage is just like the one in Ephesians, just like in Romans, specific behaviors to either subtract or add to our lives. But we don't want to do that. A lot of times we're lazy. We use this excuse. Well, that's just how it is. And so we say things like this. Well, look, I'm sorry if I'm mean, but I just kind of have a rough manner, and I have a get-it-done attitude, so when people aren't doing their jobs, I let them know about it. Sometimes I'm a little rough. It's just the way I am. Well, I'm sorry about that, because verse 8 says, now you also put them all aside, anger, wrath, malice, slander, and abusive speech from your mouth. If that's what you're doing, you're wrong. You're supposed to put those aside and put on the new self. Somebody else might say, as someone told me one time, look, I'm a nice guy, but don't cross me. I'll get you. Maybe twice as bad as you got me. My dad was the same way. Well, verse 13 says, bearing with one another and forgiving each other. Whoever has a complaint against anyone, just as the Lord forgave you, so also should you. And so I don't know why your dad was like that, but your job is not to be like your dad. Your job is to be like Christ. You put that away, and you become a new person. We can't use this excuse, that's just the way I am. It's not going to hold water with God. Go back a few pages, please. Galatians chapter 2. Galatians chapter 2. I want you to think about the spot that Peter was in. And here's Paul talking to him. You remember, this is when Paul confronts Peter, or Cephas, for playing the hypocrite. Galatians chapter 2 and verse 11. But when Cephas came to Antioch, I opposed him to his face because he stood condemned. For prior to the coming of certain men from James, he used to eat with the Gentiles, but when they came, he began to withdraw and hold himself aloof, fearing the party of the circumcision. The rest of the Jews joined him in hypocrisy, with the result that even Barnabas was carried away by their hypocrisy. But when I saw that they were not straightforward about the truth of the gospel, I said to Cephas in the presence of all, if you, being a Jew, live like the Gentiles and not like the Jews, how is it that you compel the Gentiles to live like Jews? And it goes on from there. But I want you to think about Peter and the position that he's coming from here. Could Cephas or Peter have just told Paul, that's just the way I am? I mean, this is the way I was raised. And my daddy and his daddy and his daddy and his daddy. 1,500 years. When they were the special covenant people and these long-standing biases and prejudices were in place, you can see where a Jew would say, well, this is just kind of how it is. This is the accepted norm around here, and we wouldn't want to go against that. As a matter of fact, wouldn't Paul have sympathized with that? Paul's a Jew. Paul said, I'm a Hebrew of Hebrews. He grew up revering all things Jewish. But here was one Jew telling another Jew, brother, we got to change. This is not acceptable anymore. We got to put off those old biases, those old prejudices, and we've got to become new people. What a great example in Galatians chapter 2 of the hard changes that Jesus demands. He demanded that of Paul and of Peter. He demands hard changes of you and me. That's what it takes to live for Christ. I've got to become a new person. Well, you know, there's some other effects of this attitude problem. And I say other effects because The main problem is that it breaks God's law. If I have this attitude that that's just how I am, well, that's a sin in and of itself, because God says you need to become a new person. Put off the old, put on the new. So that's the first and primary problem. But there are other things, if that wasn't bad enough, there are other offshoots of this that make it even worse and compound the problem. Here's one of those things. It's hypocrisy, and it ruins my credibility. Look in Romans chapter 2, please. Notice what it says. Romans chapter 2. Virtually none of us who have this attitude are allowing the same attitude in other people. For example, if somebody robs you at gunpoint, you're probably going to be upset. And as that person is running away with your iPhone and your cash and whatever else, what if they turn back and yell at you over their shoulders, they're running away with your stuff? Can't help it, sorry, that's just the way I am. I've always hated working, but I love cash, sorry, can't help it. Oh, well then that's fine. The unlaw code is, well, of course we don't say that. We expect them to change. I don't care how you feel like being. You need to stop being that way. You see where the hypocrisy comes in? I want you to change, but, well, not me. My circumstances are always different than you. Hypocrisy. Romans chapter 2 and verse 1, therefore you have no excuse, every one of you who passes judgment, for in that which you judge another, you condemn yourself, or you who judge practice the same things. And we know that the judgment of God rightly falls upon those who practice such things. But you suppose this, O man, when you pass judgment on those who practice such things, and do the same yourself, that you will escape the judgment of God. Let's get down to verse 21. You therefore who teach another, do you not teach yourself? You who preach that one shall not steal, do you steal? You who say that one should not commit adultery, do you commit adultery? You who abhor idols, do you rob temples? You who boast in the law, through your breaking the law, do you dishonor God? For the name of God is blasphemed among the Gentiles because of you, just as it is written. Anytime people who are supposedly God's people, and those of us here tonight hopefully are thinking of ourselves as God's people, anytime we continue to commit sin while continually telling others they need to stop sinning, that they need to change, but I'm going to stay the same, what do you think the effect is? It ruins my credibility. It shows my utter hypocrisy and my pride that I think I'm right and I think you need to change, but I'm not going to change. I'm just going to stay like this because, after all, that's the way I am. There may be no quicker way to destroy my influence with somebody than this kind of hypocrisy. It's just the way I am. That's another problem that comes from this. Here's another one. It allows spiritual laziness to continue. Look in 2 Peter, please, chapter 1. 2 Peter chapter 1. You might remember this is where he's giving the list of things, qualities that we need to add. He says in 2 Peter 1 and verse 5, now for this very reason also, applying all diligence. In your faith supply moral excellence, and in your moral excellence knowledge. And he goes on from there. Self-control, perseverance, godliness, brotherly kindness, and love. But notice what he said in verse 5. Applying all diligence. ESV says, make every effort. That's talking about putting some energy into this. We can't be lazy about it. Verse 8. For if these qualities are yours and are increasing. Again, energy, effort. Look in verse 10. Therefore, brethren, be all the more diligent. So again, that same word used again. Now that's what the Apostle Peter said to do. That I can wipe all of that away in my mind by just repeating this phrase. That's just how I am. Sorry. Not going to change. That's a lot of work. This is just the way I have a temper problem, or I have a lust problem, or whatever it is. That's just how I am. You're going to have to deal with that. That's just as wrong as it can be, is it not? Become a new person. It was not easy for Jesus to leave heaven, to come down to this earth, live perfectly, and die on the cross for me. But he did that. Now it's my turn to live in obedience to him. And so I can't allow this laziness to continue by using this excuse. Well, here's the third problem. It implies that some sins are okay. Look in John chapter 9, please. John chapter 9. Let's use the Pharisees as an example here. No other group smacks of elitism and the party spirit quite as much as these old Pharisees. The idea was, as long as you agree with us, you're okay. I'm a Pharisee. That's just who I am. And so now you kind of get into that group mentality where that's just who we are. We are Pharisees. We are right. And how dare you disagree with us? John chapter 9, it didn't matter. They were so prideful. It didn't matter if you had an unmistakable miracle, undeniable miracle take place, and they can see the evidence right in front of their faces. They're going to reject that if it doesn't go along with their narrative of the way things are. And that's what you have here in John chapter 9. You've got the man that's born blind. Jesus heals him. And yet they still are unwilling to reconcile that in their minds with what the truth is. John chapter 9, look at verse 28. They reviled him and said, "You are his disciple, but we are disciples of Moses. We know that God spoke to Moses, but as for this man, we do not know where he's from." The man answered and said to them, "Well, here's an amazing thing that you know where he's from, and yet he opened my eyes. We know that God does not hear sinners, but if anyone is God-fearing and does his will, he hears him. Since the beginning of time, it has never been heard that anyone opened the eyes of a person born blind. If this man were not from God, he could do nothing." Now look at their response, verse 34. They answered him, "You were born entirely in sins, and are you teaching us?" So they put him out. You talk about pride, there it is. You talk about elitism, there it is. Who do you think you are? You're born in your sin. You know who we are. We are the religious elite. We know stuff. You can't even dream about the stuff we know. And you're going to teach us about spiritual things? Get out of here. We are right. That's who we are. That means automatically you must be wrong. Is it possible for a member of a church of Christ to have that attitude? Yeah, it's possible. And we better watch out for this. Pharisees are a big warning for us. We believe we have the truth. We try to have the truth. We study hard. We're looking for that. We're trying to live by that. But it's easy for us to slip into this arrogance, just like the Pharisees had. Most of the Pharisees had that attitude that being a Pharisee pretty much guaranteed what they were doing was right. We're in the right group. And so we just are always right. Is that the way that we feel? Members of churches of Christ, we're in the right group, we know the right things, we know certain technical points about God's law. So it doesn't really matter if some of our daily behaviors may be out of line, or if I have pride, or if I'm materialistic. You know, that's kind of on the sideline. The main thing is I'm in the right group. I am right. That's how I am, and that's who I am. I'm in the right group. And if someone dared to point out any flaw in me, what would I think? Oh, don't worry. I'm a member of a church of Christ. In fact, I could be teaching you. I might not say that, but maybe that's what's in my head. If that's the way we feel, we need a big dose of 1 John. Let me just read one verse to you, please. 1 John chapter 3 and verse 7. 1 John 3:7 says, "Little children, make sure no one deceives you. The one who practices righteousness is righteous, just as he is righteous." Let that sink in for a second. The one who practices righteousness, not the one who goes to certain church necessarily, not the one who has the right label, who's a member of a certain group, but the one who practices righteousness is righteous. It doesn't matter the label that I wear. It doesn't mean that I'm excused from living righteously. Somebody might bring up a legitimate complaint or critique of me. You don't seem very sincere in your worship. Oh, don't worry. That's kind of just the way we are. The main thing is not to have instruments. Oh, really? That's the main thing? I know that's a thing. That's the main thing. You don't seem very generous. Oh, that's just how we are. The main thing is not to use a sponsoring church. Really? That's the main thing about serving God? We see the danger there. Any group, even a church of Christ, can begin to see themselves as above the law.
That because of who we are, we just don't need to necessarily follow the law, because we all agree what the main things are. As long as we do those main things or understand those main things right, then everything else kind of falls by the wayside. So whether it's an individual, whether it's a group attitude problem, let's avoid it. Well, am I guilty of this? Look in Romans chapter 12, please. Romans chapter 12. You remember over here when he's talking about the differences that we all have? We're all different people, different strengths. Romans chapter 12 and verse 6. Since we have gifts that differ according to the grace given us, each of us is to exercise them accordingly. If prophecy, according to the proportion of his faith; if service, in his serving; or he who teaches, in his teaching; or he who exhorts, in his exhortation; he who gives with liberality; he who leads with diligence; he who shows mercy with cheerfulness, and so forth. And we have a couple of passages like that in the New Testament showing that everybody's different. We each have our different strengths. But doesn't this passage also imply the opposite? If we each have areas that we are strong in, doesn't that also imply there are other areas that we're not as strong in? That we each have different weaknesses as well. If we're strong in certain areas, that means we're weak in the other areas. And so I might be more prone than the next guy to commit certain sins because of whatever, my circumstances, my upbringing, my predisposition, those sorts of things. Each of us is unique, and we have our own personal struggles for a variety of reasons. The Holy Spirit knew all of that when He inspired the Bible. And all of these instructions, every one that we've read tonight, and yet He demands all the things that we have been reading about. Consider a couple of examples here. First of all, think about fathers. Have you ever wondered why fathers are told not to be too hard on the kids? Why is it that fathers, Ephesians 6:4 and Colossians 3:21, are singled out? Do not provoke your children to anger, and do not exasperate your kids. Why does it say fathers? Why not fathers and mothers? Or why not mothers? Why fathers? Well, I don't know. He doesn't explain that, and I don't want to read too much into that. Is it possible that dads need the extra reminder? That dads tend to be the ones a little quicker on the fuse a lot of times, and we need that extra. It doesn't imply that it's okay for mom to provoke the kids to wrath, but dads, here's a special instruction. Remember, don't provoke your kids. Is that why we have the extra weakness, and so we get the extra mind? Maybe so. The other example, we might talk about women. Why are women in 3 passages specifically told not to gossip? We have other passages that are just general in nature about gossip, but in 1 Timothy 3:11 and 1 Timothy 5:13 and Titus 2:3, it's specifically to women. Be careful about gossiping. Why is that? Is there something about women that makes that especially tempting? Well, I don't know. Like I said, I don't want to read too much into that. Maybe that's the case. But even if that is the case, can fathers and can women just excuse those sins by saying, well, that's just how we are. That's how dads are, we exasperate the kids. Or women might say, well, that's just the way we are. We get together, we just start gossiping. This is how it works. Well, no. He's specifically saying not to do those things, right? And so we can't use this excuse. If there is some predisposition in our life, because of who we are, because of some circumstance or role that we're in, then that doesn't mean we're excused from sin. It might mean we need to work harder on it. It might mean, since I'm more prone than the next guy, that that's a bigger challenge for me, but it does not mean I'm excused. Now it's time for some self-examination here. What are your problems? Start thinking for a couple moments here. Are there any things that I do that I tend to excuse about myself? I kind of turn a blind eye when I examine myself because I just figure, well, that's my personality, those are my circumstances, that's been my upbringing. Is there anything like that in my life? I'm kind of giving myself a pass on that. I can't do this part for you, by the way. Only you know, and God, the weaknesses that you struggle with. I can stomp around in the dark for a minute and see if I can step on your toes, but you have to do this. Well, there's 2 examples up there. Maybe those are your problems, being too hard on the kids or gossiping. Here's a third one. How about clicks? Maybe that's your problem. James chapter 2, over here in verse 2, you remember he said, for if a man comes into your assembly with a gold ring and dressed in fine clothes, And there also comes in a poor man in dirty clothes, and you pay special attention to the one who's wearing the fine clothes and say, you sit here in a good place. And you say to the poor man, you stand over there or sit down by my footstool. Have you not made distinctions among yourselves and become judges with evil motives? Ephesians 4:32 commands us to be kind to one another. In Paul's letters, he's constantly urging people to get along. 4 times he uses that phrase, greet one another with a holy kiss. And so it's evident that Christians especially are supposed to be nice to each other and not cliquey, and we're separating into different groups, and we're not kind to certain people, we're only friendly, we're only helpful to the people that are in my group of friends. God understands that some of us are more shy. And for some people it's naturally harder to just go around and talk to everybody, or to greet a visitor, or to do things like that. God understands all of that. But we shouldn't use the excuse, well, that's just how I am. We need to replace that with a better thought. I need to work harder at this. It doesn't come as naturally for me as it does for other people. We have 2 kids. Our boy is about to be a teenager next month, 12 years old. Our daughter is 10 years old. Tanner, the boy, is the outgoing one. Allie is shy. And it makes her really nervous to talk with people. Right now we're doing a thing. She has to talk to 3 adults every church service. And it was very hard for her at first. She's getting better now. It's just hard. Tanner can go up and strike a conversation. Not her. She's different. Now it's easy for her to get an A on a math test, and bless his heart, it's not easy for Tanner. But she really has to work on that. This is one for her that's hard. To treat people nicely. She's not meaning to come off that way, but as she grows up, if she doesn't change, this is going to be one that's hard for her. To not be cliquey. To not seem like you're being mean to somebody. Maybe that's your problem. Maybe that's your special struggle. Whatever we do, we can't just say, well, that's just how I am. Forget about it. I'm not going to try it anymore. Maybe this is my problem. Materialism. I love a good smartphone, right? Or a good car. Or a book, or a set of clothes, or whatever it is. That's just how I am. Well, Jesus said, beware, be on your guard against every form of greed, for not even when one has an abundance does his life consist of his possessions. Luke 12:15. That might be the way you are, and probably in 2017 in America, as prosperous as we are, all of us probably struggle with materialism. That just means we need to work harder as members of this society because of our prosperity. What about laziness? Spouses are left unloved. Children are left undisciplined. Bibles are left unread. Jobs are left undone. And we kind of dismiss all of that. Well, I like to relax. My family, we're good at relaxing. We know how to take it easy. We like to be stress-free. Runs of the family. Just how we are. Well, that's fine to an extent, right? Good to relax. But not if it's to the point of negligence. You see that a man is justified by works and not by faith alone. James 2 and verse 24. I don't know what your problem is. Like I said, we're just stomping around with the dark here. This is your job. Now take this sermon home with you. Do some self-examination. Am I giving myself a pass on something? God loves you. He wants you to put off that old self and become a new person. Even though it's hard in certain areas for you. We need to not use this excuse. That's just how I am. We need to replace that with a better thought. I now live for Christ. He tells us how to start that walk. He says, you must believe that I am He, John 8:24. And repent of your sins, Acts 17:30. Confess the faith you have, Romans 10:9 and 10. And be baptized in the name of Jesus Christ for the forgiveness of sins, Acts 2:38. If you want to do that tonight, this congregation is ready to help you. If you'd like to study about those things or some other spiritual problem, I'd like to help you. I know there are others here that would like to help you. Whatever way we can help, please come forward now as we stand and sing to encourage you.